Jake here for American Muscle, and today I'm taking a look at the vintage style rear window and quarter window louver kit in matte black for 2005 to 2014 Mustang Coupes. The S197 is retro styling done right, but if you want to bring a little bit more of that classic old school muscle car style to your Mustang for a super affordable price, then this rear and quarter window louver kit is going to be exactly what you're looking for. Now, nothing screams muscle car quite like some louvers, and Mustangs just look really good with these on. Both the rear and quarter window louvers here feature a classic open design, and they look great against the styling of the S197. Now, starting with this rear louver, you get this 8-slat open design with these small braces in the middle sections for looks and stability. Now, the openings here, as you can probably tell, are a bit on the slimmer side, but they're not going to completely kill your rearward visibility, which is, of course, important. They really speak to that vintage style. They have that nice classic curvature to them. It's kind of like something akin to what you would have found on a 60s or 70s Mustang back in the day. Now, this is of course also going to block out a lot of harmful UV rays from your interior, which is going to keep it protected and looking good for years to come, while also keeping it cooler in that hot summer sun. The rear louver is sized to fit over the entirety of your rear window, covering it perfectly and completely. Now, you can also remove this to help keep the window clean too, and if you've ever had a rear window louver on a car before, you know that this is important because it can get dirty under there, and being able to access it is really handy. So you're just going to undo the nuts at the attachment points. There are 6 on this one, 2 on the sides, and 2 up here. You're going to lift it right off of these plates that mount up. Now, the side louvers also leverage that vintage style with a 3-slat design, and they pair nicely with the styling of the Mustang, and of course they're going to match that rear louver as well, making for a really nice match set. Since you do have those 3 slats, and the bottom one especially is pretty open, they won't completely block out your visibility from those windows, but do expect that it's going to make a bit of an impact on it. I also just think that they look really sharp on the exterior, and they match really nicely with the rear louver in this kit. Now, both the rear and quarter window louvers are made from injection molded ABS plastics, so they're lightweight, they're flexible, and most importantly, they're durable. ABS is known to be very impact resistant, and all that means that these are going to be perfect for a daily driver. As you can see, they come out of the box finished in matte black for a really nice aggressive look. But of course, you do have the option to get these painted as well, should you want to go for that color matched look. But again, they look great coming right out of the box, just as you see them here. Pricing is going to come in right around $675, so this is a really inexpensive setup that still looks great. The materials are of good quality, they mount up easily, and for a full set of rear and quarter window louvers, you're going to spend far more on something else. Now, keep in mind that these of course aren't made of aluminum, and they're not color matched right out of the gate, but if you're looking for something easy and inexpensive that still looks cool, you really cannot go wrong with this set. Installation is also quite simple, coming in at a 1 out of 3 on the difficulty meter, and should only take you about 30 minutes to get everything done. Now, the quarter window louvers mount up using the included double-sided tape right along the edges here, and the rear window louver mounts with those 6 plates that we were discussing earlier, and some additional double-sided tape. So this is pretty much a peel and stick application, and they mount right to your windows, so there's no need to mess with anything on the paint, no bracketry or anything like that. I would recommend, however, that you make sure you get those windows good and clean before mounting these guys up, and maybe even using some adhesion promoter to ensure a good stick. And now, to show you how to do all that, let's head on over to the install bay.
The tools you'll need for this project are a small file and/or a utility knife or razor blade, some alcohol prep pads, or just some regular alcohol and a clean cloth. Hi everyone, today we're installing a set of louvers on our Mustang, so let's get started. Now, first thing we're going to do to get ready to install this is actually install the mounting brackets on the louver for the rear window, and we're going to install those from the back side, and we've got 6 of them to install. And the way this is going to work is just going to go ahead and set the mounting bracket down on the inside like so, and then use one of the supplied flat washers and acorn nuts to the other side to hold it into place. And we'll use a 5/16 socket to tighten those down. And we're only going to tighten these down just enough to keep them from shifting around when we're installing the louver on the vehicle. Once you've got that one in place, now you can do the same thing for the other 5. Now we just set the mounting bracket stud through the hole and then use a flat washer and one of the acorn nuts on the other side. And then we'll use our 5/16 socket to tighten it down to make sure it doesn't shift when we're installing it on the vehicle. Now this is what it should look like when you've got all of the mounting brackets installed. Everything is hanging off towards the inside, and you've got your red backing material on the double-sided tape, and we'll remove those when we actually get ready to install it. Now let's go ahead and make sure that our window is prepped so that we can make sure that this sticks. Now you can use an alcohol pad similar to what we've got here, or you can just use some rubbing alcohol that you've got at home and a clean cloth. And what we're going to do is just go around the edge where the mounting pads are going to stick and make sure that everything is clean. So we'll just go ahead and grab our pad and just make sure that you go all around the edge where the pad's going to stick, and go around the whole edge of the window so that when we put it on there, the pads are going to have a clean surface to be able to adhere to. Now at this point, what you're going to want to do is remove all of these red backing tabs here on all of your mounting tabs. And you're just going to do, you can use your nail or you can use a razor blade, something like that, to go ahead and lift that off. And you're just going to peel it back like so. Now because we're not making this a permanent addition to our vehicle, we're not actually going to remove all of the backing materials, but you get the idea of what you need to do to install this. Now when you go to lay this on the vehicle, you want to be very careful, because once these pads stick, they're not going to want to move very easily. So let's go ahead and get this installed on the vehicle. So what you're going to want to do is start from the bottom edge, and you're going to slip that edge of the louver underneath the lip of your trunk. And then you're going to line it up with the edge of the window. And once you've got that lined up, then you make sure that your other side is lined up as well, and then just go ahead and set it in place. And once you've got it set in place, what you're going to want to do is go around to each of the mounting tabs and press it down onto the window and just hold it for about 30 seconds or so, just to make sure that it adheres to the actual window. Now, once you do that, all sides are now sitting on the window. What you're going to do now, once it's stuck on, is go ahead and remove your acorn nuts all the way around and gently lift up your louver off of the mounting pads. And then you can go back through and make sure that you really press down on the mounting pads themselves without the louver being attached to it. Once you do that, let it sit for about half an hour or so, then go ahead and put your louver back on, attach the nuts to it, and it should be secure and ready to go. And once you've gone around the whole louver and you've pressed everything down and you've made sure that the mounting pads are sticking to the window, then what you're going to do is take your 5/16 socket, remove all of the acorn nuts, and then gently lift up the louver and get it out of the way, and then come back in and just use your fingers and press down on all of the mounting tabs without the louver in place to make sure that it's really stuck in onto the window. Now, once you've got that done, let it sit for about half an hour or so, then go ahead and put your louver back on, attach all your washers and your acorn nuts, tighten them down with the 5/16 socket, and then you're ready to move on to your side windows. Now we're ready to get our quarter window louvers ready to install. As you can see, we've already started on ours here, but one thing I do want to note is that each one of these louvers are marked with either an R or an L to determine which side of the vehicle it goes on. R is going to be for the passenger side, L is going to be for the driver's side. And just like on the back window, you're going to want to use some alcohol to make sure that the surface is clean of any kind of contaminants. So we're just going to wipe the edge of it down like so. and then give that a minute or so to dry up, and then we can start laying down our tape. So once we've got everything dry, then you go ahead and start unrolling your tape, and you're going to run it along the edge of the louver, and we're going to run this just to the inside of the outer edge of the louver. All right, and then once you reach the end, you're going to use your utility knife or a razor blade or a pair of scissors and just trim that off, and make sure you press it down all the way along the edge. Now this one up here, we're going to just trim it a little bit, make sure that it sits underneath. All right, and you do that around the entire edge of the louver. Once you've got that done, then we'll do the same thing on the vehicle itself, and we'll wipe it down with an alcohol pad. Now before you actually remove the backing material off of the tape, I do recommend that you lay this up here approximately where you want it to be so that you know where you're going to place it on the vehicle. Now obviously this is much larger than the window itself, which is why I recommend that you do a test fitting. So we're going to go just above the body line here on the quarter panel, and I like to put it about 1/2 inch forward of the window itself on the front edge. Now that we know approximately where we want it to go, we'll go ahead and use our alcohol pad and wipe that down. Now we know that we've got a clean surface to attach our louver to. Now, just like the rear window louver, we're not making this a permanent addition to our vehicle, so we're not going to remove all of the backing. But I will tell you, when you do this, don't remove it all at once. Just take off about 1 inch or 2 and leave the tail hanging towards the outside of the louver. And the reason for this is if you don't have it all exposed, it's a little bit easier to place it and maneuver it around to get it exactly where you want it if you don't have everything, all the adhesive exposed. So just pull it back a couple of inches, make sure the tail is hanging out, and then go ahead and put it in place on the vehicle. Like so. And press it into place. Once you're happy with it, then you can go ahead and grab the ends of your backing material and just gently pull it off while you're holding it in place, and then just run your hands along after you get all the backing material off to make sure that it sticks. And just do that for the whole edge of all the tape that you've got on here. All right? And then you can repeat that whole process for the other side. And that wraps up our review and install of the vintage style rear window and quarter window louver kit in the matte black finish for your 05 to 14 Mustang Coupe. Thanks for watching, and remember, for all things Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.